Hello, my name is Mendy Shusrin, and I'm going to present a talk on Moshiach titled Moshiach and Notchless Bezel-less Displays. Okay, so if you look at the screen, you're going to see a phone, which is the Vivo Nex, and if you look specifically on the top, you're going to see a camera sticking out. So this might seem a little random in how it connects to Moshiach. The top of his phone, you can see a little camera, as I pointed out, is not in the phone. If you look at most of phones nowadays, you'll see some form of camera. There are different phones that present different kind of cameras to you. So I'm going to show a couple different phones and how they have gotten rid of notch and bezels. So notch and bezels are two different kind of displays that have been going on in the past few years of how to get rid of extra space on your screen. So this is a Vivo Nex. Their way of getting rid of that your screen is completely infinite to your uninterrupted view. This is their way of doing it, which is a little camera on top. So whenever you turn the phone on, the little camera comes up to either take, so that if you want to take a selfie, you take it like that, or if you want to use Face ID, I believe you can use that as well. That's the Vivo Nex. The Oppo Find X, I love the picture, great quality of course, is that you see that thing, that's not a part of the phone. You slide that part of the phone up like a slider phone. You just slide that up and that's how the camera appears on that. Again, an infinite display on your screen, and that's how they've dealt with it. The Galaxy S10, which is going to be releasing in a couple of months, presented a new option called the hole punch option. It's one of the first phones to do that, and if you look at the mouse right here, you'll see a little hole punch where that's where the camera is, as opposed to on the iPhone, where it's a great grainy picture here, but they have this thing called a notch. That's the notch on a phone. These have been recent innovations in the past few years on how to make phones more infinite screen. If you look back in the original iPhone, the first iPhone that existed, you see these huge things called bezels. Right here, you're going to see that bezel. That's not the screen. That's not touch screen. That has no connection to the screen, but it's there, so you can have this home button. And I don't even believe there was a camera in the first one, but I think that's the speaker on the first iPhone. This is the iPhone 4. You'll see that the bezels are a little bit smaller. You'll see the adding of the innovation of the camera. And then we can go back now to the iPhone XS Max, which is the most recent iteration of the iPhone. You'll see how there is none of that space, but there's just this little thing here for the camera. So these things on top of a phone are called bezels. So this has no bezels technically, because it's technically infinite. This is called the chin of a phone. That's the little bottom part over there. And this is the notch. And how does this have to do with Moshiach?
Amen.
In life, as in phones, we crave perfection. This race that many phones have tried to get to this complete infinite display, bezel, notchless display, without a chin, without anything, has been a major race. There has been some smaller phones that have released without cameras, and as I showed at the beginning, those different ones with the slider and the camera coming up. There has been a race and innovation to who can get there first. If you look at the OnePlus 6T, which I don't have a picture of, it started with a teardrop display, which is that it's like a notch, but just tiny little bit right here. Every company's been coming up with their own innovations of how we can have this infinite display. But again, how does this relate to Moshiach? We, as human beings, seek a perfection. Whether it's to be lahavel to watch a movie and you want to have nothing interrupting your view, or to of course watch a Rebbe video, lahavdal, and have an uninterrupted view of that, you're going to want to have perfection in that. If it's on your phone, you want perfection on the screen, and if it's in your shoes, you want perfection in the most comfort. We all want perfection. To bring Moshiach though, perfection is not a necessity. The Rebbe talked about in many sichas, Yidden are people who are captured and do not have the knowledge about mitzvahs. Yeah, Tina Shinishba. Many people in this generation don't have the knowledge about this perfection. They're living in the times like this. They want to do what they can. When you bring someone into your Chabad house or on Mivsayim and you put on tefillin with them, you've brought them to this level, to here. You're bringing people to this quote-unquote perfection. But we don't need that for Moshiach. That will only happen when Moshiach comes. These innovations in the technological field are an analogy for how the world is. It says that the world is like 7 days and 7,000 years. It says at year 6,500, like on Erev Shabbos, you're supposed to have a taste of the food before you get there and have the actual food on Shabbos. That's when the Chassidus started coming out. Chassidus being the analogy of the Shabbos food and you having to have a taste of it. At Chassidus, we were something like this. As the Rebbeim started coming on, we got further and further to something like this. We had a phone with a little bit smaller bezels, a camera on the front. And we have been continuously progressing with each Rebbe teaching something new, creating a Tamchit Mimim. And then eventually to the Frierdiker Rebbe and our Rebbe, where we started focusing on the average Yid who didn't know about this, who only knew about this kind of phone, who only know about the basics of what Judaism was, some barely even knowing that they were Jewish. Not having the knowledge that we are blessed to have been born into frum families and to have that knowledge, they didn't have it. They don't know about perfection and about this form of Judaism that's higher. They don't know about Moshiach the way that we do. Yes. But we have the ability to teach them and to bring them to perfection. Moshiach is not a notchless bezel-less display. Moshiach is a all-encompassing display of the whole world. Moshiach is a definition of perfection. This world is not supposed to be perfection. We're supposed to have challenges. We're supposed to have notches and bezels in our phones and notches and bezels in our life. We fall down and we stand up again. We struggle with our Judaism and at times disregard it, but it doesn't mean that it's all for naught. Our Judaism at sometimes can look like this, sometimes can look like this, but also sometimes it can look like this. Mashiach, as we said, is perfection. The only way to get to this perfection is having the imperfections that we have now and working on them to try to make them better. As we try to make them better, we're bringing Mashiach closer. The Rebbe said in the Sikha, I think it was Tafshin and Beis, I'm not exactly sure. The Rebbe said, I've done all I can, now it's in your hands. The Rebbe gave over this mantle of bringing Mashiach to us, to the Chassidim of his, and to the world at large, to bring this Mashiach, to make us have this final push. The famous analogies of just open up the doorknob to bring Mashiach, to let him in, shining your shoes, shining your buttons, they're all different things. We're just trying to get rid of this last little bit of bezel, last little notch on our phones, last little chin on the bottom to bring Mashiach. And we're so very close. It's about doing the last final steps. And sometimes you'll still find people using phones like these, or even flip phones, or something like that. But it's about teaching them and bringing them here and bringing them closer. Every small step that they get and everything closer to Mashiach and to Yiddishkeit is going to get us to that infinite display and that infinite goodness of Mashiach. Thank you very much.